$100,000. People argue about the perfect retirement nest egg all the time. Some financial gurus insist you need at least $1 million to survive, while others claim you can scrape by on much less. Your well-meaning coworker probably tells you that retiring with a smaller portfolio and absolutely no pension is an invitation to immediate financial disaster. But $100,000, that is the exact number that keeps coming up for everyday people trying to figure out what their actual financial future looks like. And today, we are going to find out exactly what that reality looks like. Not the overly polished social media fantasy version you see online, but the gritty, real-world version. By the end of this video, you will either feel incredibly motivated or mildly anxious. Honestly, you will probably feel a little bit of both. Today, Granny Presh is going to show you everything that resides in this particular matter we are talking about. Kindly hit the like and subscribe button. Thank you. Here's the thing most people gloss over. When you are retiring with a $100,000 portfolio and absolutely no pension, the foundational rules of traditional financial planning completely change. You've probably heard of the 4% withdrawal rule. In standard retirement coaching, that rule is treated like law, meaning you safely pull 4% from your investments each year. But let's do some quick conversational math. On a $100,000 nest egg, 4% translates to exactly $4,000 a year. That is just $333 a month. Whether your money sits in a tax-advantaged 401k, a Roth IRA, or a standard taxable brokerage account, relying strictly on mainstream investment vehicles to yield traditional cash flow isn't going to cut it. The game changes entirely when there is no guaranteed company pension waiting to back you up. Let's look at the numbers without the sugarcoating. If you are leaning entirely on that $333 a month from your $100,000 portfolio, you are facing a massive gap just to cover basic survival. Rent or a modest mortgage easily eats up $1,200. Groceries take another $400. Utilities, insurance, and gas quickly add $500 more. Suddenly, your bare bones baseline is $2,100 a month, leaving you over $1,700 short. How do you close that gap without a pension? The answer for most people in this exact scenario is Social Security. If your monthly check is $1,800, you are surviving, but you are skating on razor-thin ice. One major car repair, a dental emergency, or a sudden rise in property taxes completely shatters the math. This is exactly where the lifestyle reality check turns into a high-stakes balancing act. But here is the layer nobody adds to a basic analysis: Social Security. When you are looking at a smaller portfolio with absolutely no pension, Social Security stops being just a nice little monthly bonus and becomes the ultimate survival multiplier. Let's look at the math with and without it. If you pull your $333 a month from your portfolio alone, you are constantly on the edge of a cliff. But introduce a standard Social Security benefit of, say, $1,800 a month, that one shift alone can extend your portfolio's lifespan from 30 years to potentially 50 years because you are no longer aggressively draining your principal. And if you are married, 2 checks drop in. Suddenly, that modest $100,000 nest egg stops looking like an immediate disaster and starts looking completely bulletproof. When you run a $100,000 portfolio without a pension, you face a compounding risk stack that traditional retirees safely ignore. The first threat is inflation. At just 3% inflation, your purchasing power cuts in half over 24 years. Your fixed investment returns won't keep pace. The second threat is the sequence of returns risk. If the stock market drops 20% in your first 2 years of retirement, drawing money down while the market is bleeding destroys your principal permanently, making recovery impossible. The final silent threat is healthcare. One single major out-of-pocket medical emergency can instantly wipe out a $100,000 nest egg. When you don't have a guaranteed monthly pension check absorbing these blows, these 3 threats change from minor financial speed bumps into absolute portfolio killers. You aren't just managing money, you are actively managing baseline survival. To make a $100,000 portfolio work with absolutely no pension, you must master the geography of enough. In a high-cost metropolitan hub, this math fails instantly.
But the moment you shift your geography, the entire equation resets. It comes down to two distinct paths: domestic relocation or international geo-arbitrage. Domestically, moving to a low-tax, low-cost of living state can cut your baseline survival expenses by 40%. Internationally, places like Costa Rica, Portugal, or Southeast Asia offer a radical alternative.
In these regions, a modest $2,100 monthly budget, combining your small investment draw with Social Security, doesn't just cover the rent. It funds a highly comfortable upper middle class lifestyle. You don't need $1 million net worth to retire well. You just need the willingness to change your zip code and redefine what enough looks like. If you are staring at a $100,000 portfolio with absolutely no pension, you cannot rely on passive, slow-growth strategies. You need to deploy a specific, hyper-targeted acceleration formula right now. First, optimize your asset allocation. At this portfolio level, you cannot afford to be entirely conservative. A portion of your capital must remain in low-cost, broad-market index funds to capture equity growth that outpaces inflation. Second, eliminate every single dollar of high-interest consumer debt. Paying off a 20% credit card balance provides a guaranteed 20% return on your money, instantly freeing up critical monthly cash flow. Finally, bridge the initial gap by establishing an active, low-stress bridge income. Generating just $500 a month through a flexible, skill-based side hustle completely changes your math. It transforms your portfolio from a shrinking fund into a growing, self-sustaining financial engine. Let's change your perspective entirely. When you hear $100,000, your brain instantly tracks what it cannot buy. It cannot buy a luxury beachfront villa, and it cannot buy an effortless, high-rolling retirement lifestyle. But let's talk about what that exact number does buy you when it is deployed with absolute intent. It buys you breathing room. It buys you a rock-solid, multi-year financial safety buffer that stands firmly between you and total financial vulnerability. It buys you the ultimate power to say no. No to toxic work environments, no to forced panic, and no to low-wage survival grinds. It transforms you from someone who is actively drowning into someone who is completely in control of their time. It is not an ending. It is a powerful baseline for a deliberate life. If this video captured your attention till this moment, kindly like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.